I've seen a lot of folks sharing their stories here and getting some solid advice, so I figured it's my turn to give it a shot. Buckle in, because this story is anything but smooth. It's a full-blown emotional roller coaster. To give you some background, I'm a 30-year-old woman and I've been married to Matt, who's now my soon-to-be ex, for nearly 6 years. I run my own business, handcrafting soaps and candles, something I built entirely from the ground up. I poured everything into it, my time, my energy, my soul. It's not just a business to me, it's a piece of who I am. Life felt like it was finally settling into place until it all fell apart just 2 months ago. That's when I found out Matt had been cheating on me with my younger sister, Grace. Yep, you read that right. I'll explain how I discovered it soon, but just know that it wrecked me. And unfortunately, that wasn't even the worst of it. Let's rewind a bit. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. Grace, my baby sister, is 20 now, almost a full decade younger than me. Her arrival was unexpected for all of us, but from the moment she was born, I was obsessed. I'd always wanted a little sister, and getting to bring her home felt like a dream come true. Because of our age gap, I naturally stepped into a second mom role. I doted on her constantly, fed her, bathed her, and even bought her toys and clothes with my own pocket money. She was the most precious baby, and I was so proud of her. I even begged my dad for a digital camera just so I could document every moment and turn it into a scrapbook. I adored her. And I would have done anything just to see her smile. As she got older and I started earning a little money, I'd spoil her every chance I got: books, clothes, whatever she wanted. I picked her up from school almost every day, and our weekends were sacred. We'd binge-watch Gilmore Girls, eat way too much ice cream and popcorn, and browse our local bookstore. Honestly, those are some of my favorite memories. I could tell she loved me just as much as I loved her. We were inseparable. Things started shifting when I left for college out of state. I tried to come home during breaks, but it was tough, and I missed everyone, especially Grace. It killed me knowing I'd be missing so much of her childhood. College was my first real taste of freedom. I was finally out from under my parents' roof, and I made the most of it. Parties, late nights, doing whatever I wanted. That's actually how I met Matt. He was DJing at this frat party, and I remember thinking he was the coolest guy I'd ever seen, covered in tattoos, shoulder-length hair, confident as hell. We vibed right away and ended up partying together all night. We exchanged numbers, and later I found out he actually went to the same college, just a couple years ahead of me. We started hanging out and I fell for him fast. He was funny, charming, super easy to talk to, and let's be honest, really good looking. He could also be a bit cocky and pushy, but at the time, I was too into him to see any red flags. Looking back now, I wonder how I ever convinced myself he was perfect when, in reality, he was just doing the bare minimum. But that's the thing, when you're young and head over heels, you overlook a lot. And eventually, those same things you ignore come back to haunt you. Anyway, we went on a few more dates and before I knew it, we were officially a couple. After Matt graduated, we moved in together. We got a small apartment close to campus so I could easily get to class. He landed an internship at a tech company while I picked up shifts at a campus bistro. Money was tight, but we were happy. It felt like we were building something real. Matt really stepped up. He'd make me breakfast, quiz me for exams, even stay up late with me before big tests, despite having work the next morning. I honestly couldn't believe I had found someone like him. He made me feel loved and seen in a way I hadn't experienced before. When we were out, he introduced me as the love of his life to everyone, and at work parties, he'd go on and on about me until I blushed. It felt like he was truly devoted to me. My family finally met him the weekend I graduated. They'd heard about him through calls, but this was the first time they saw him in person. At this point, our relationship was serious. We even shared a bank account. To my surprise, my parents loved him. Even my dad, who never liked any of my past boyfriends, gave his approval. They were a little annoyed that I moved in with him without saying anything, but once they saw how Matt treated me, they eased up. I was especially excited to see Grace. She was almost 13 then and had never visited me at college before. She had a blast chatting with my friends and professors, soaking it all in. And she clearly liked Matt too. I noticed she'd get shy and fidgety whenever he was around, and I remember thinking it was just an innocent crush. By the end of that weekend, Matt had charmed everyone in my family, and I felt this huge wave of relief. I really did love him and wanted it to last. After graduation, I got a job as a personal assistant at the same company Matt worked at. It was kind of perfect, we saw each other all the time. A year later, after nearly 4 years of dating, Matt proposed. He planned everything so beautifully. I was ecstatic and said yes without hesitation. When we got home, I was stunned to find a surprise engagement party waiting for us, our close friends, my family, decorations all over the apartment. Turns out Matt flew my parents and siblings in just for the occasion. I remember thinking, wow, this man really loves me. We got married less than a year later, and it was magical. Grace was my maid of honor. We managed to upgrade to a nicer apartment, and even adopted a cat. Life felt so full. My business was growing, Matt got a promotion, and we started talking seriously about having kids. But things started going downhill with Grace. She'd been through something awful. Her best friend, someone she considered a sister, passed away suddenly. It shattered her. I rushed home to be with her, but she was in pieces. She barely spoke, wouldn't eat, and just kind of shut down. We figured she needed time and space to grieve. Months went by and nothing changed. She was only 15 at the time, facing this unimaginable loss, and I was really starting to worry. Grace stopped attending school altogether, and her grades completely tanked. I pushed to get her into therapy, but my parents were convinced she just needed more time and space to mourn. Eventually, she started coming out of her room more often and talking a little, but I could tell something was deeply wrong. That bubbly, full-of-life version of Grace I knew was gone. What replaced her was a hollow version of the sister I had loved so fiercely. Her condition kept spiraling. Then came the phone calls from my mom. She said Grace had started hanging around with the wrong crowd, older guys who drank, used drugs, and were clearly a bad influence. She also caught Grace smoking. I was stunned. That just wasn't like her. Not at all. Then Matt and I went home for Christmas, and things truly fell apart. The change in Grace hit me like a brick. Everything about her, how she dressed, how she spoke, even how she carried herself, was different. She acted out constantly, snapping at people, being flat-out disrespectful, and just acting like a rebellious teenager on steroids. I tried pulling her aside to talk. We used to share everything, but this time, she shut me down hard. She told me I'd never understand what she was going through and begged me to just leave her alone. I felt helpless. When I brought up therapy again, she exploded. A full-blown fight broke out. She screamed that she wasn't crazy and didn't need help. Harsh things were said on both sides, and the only one who managed to calm her down was Matt. After things settled, she told us she was going to a friend's place to cool off. But she never came home that night. As hours passed, I went from frustrated to terrified. I was about to start calling her friends when we got a phone call from her boyfriend. He was 20. Grace was only 16. He said she had overdosed on pills. I went cold. We rushed to the hospital. Thankfully, they were able to bring her back. That night, we learned the full truth. Grace had started using drugs after her friend died, just to numb the pain. It crushed me. We made a pact to do everything we could to help her, starting with getting her into therapy. That whole ordeal was a nightmare, but I clung to the hope that she was finally getting the support she needed. But just a few months later, the nightmare repeated. Another overdose. Somehow, she survived again, but this time we had no choice. She needed rehab. She stayed there for several months, got clean, and tried to restart her life from scratch. It broke my heart watching her go through this endless loop, cleaning up, only to fall right back down. No matter how hard we tried to support her, she kept slipping away. Eventually, it felt like every attempt to help only pushed her further into self-destruction. After watching her relapse time and time again, I hit a breaking point. Maybe it sounds awful, but I couldn't do it anymore. I had nothing left to give. I made the choice to step back and focus on my own well-being. During that time, Matt was my lifeline. He played peacemaker whenever things with Grace spiraled. He'd talk me through things, help me brainstorm ways to support her, and always stayed calm, something I couldn't manage anymore. I leaned on him more than I realized. I shifted my focus back to work and, with Matt's encouragement, we started trying for a baby. But even after an entire year of trying, nothing happened. That's when I was diagnosed with PCOS. It wasn't impossible to get pregnant, but it was going to be hard. At first, we stayed hopeful. But month after month of failed attempts started to wear me down. I fell into a quiet sadness that kept growing. Not being able to conceive made me feel like I had failed in the most basic, biological way possible. Like something was broken inside me. The disappointment started bleeding into everything else. My job performance tanked, and eventually I quit because I just couldn't find the energy to care anymore. I felt completely empty, like I had nothing left to offer. To his credit, Matt never once blamed me. He never made me feel guilty or pressured me into anything I wasn't ready for. He was struggling too, but he kept showing up for me, and I appreciated that more than I could say. I tried applying for other jobs, but nothing really panned out. That's when I decided to take a risk and do something for myself. I'd always been into homemade skincare, especially because I struggled with acne. Years ago, I started making my own soaps using natural ingredients, and I already had a decent handle on what worked and what didn't. So, I started small, selling handmade soaps to neighbors and a few friends. To my surprise, people loved them. Soon, they were placing regular orders. One of my friends helped me build a website, and before I knew it, I was shipping products across the country. Then her daughter posted a TikTok about my little soap business and it blew up. Suddenly, I had real customers, real demand, and finally, real profit. For the first time in months, I started to feel like myself again. I stopped obsessing over having a baby and started leaning into this new identity, a business owner. Matt seemed happier too. He told me he'd been promoted and started going on work trips more frequently. Things were finally stabilizing, or so I thought. About 2 months ago, while he was away on one of those trips, I was feeling lonely and decided to go visit my parents. I figured maybe it was time to try to patch things up with Grace. When I got there, they mentioned she had moved out and was now living with a friend. So, I decided to surprise her. They gave me the address, and I headed over, completely unprepared for what I was about to walk into. When I knocked on the door, Matt answered. My husband, half-dressed. And right behind him was Grace. Her expression froze the moment she saw me. Both of them looked like deer caught in headlights. At first, I couldn't even process it. I just stood there, numb. But the guilt on their faces told me everything I needed to know. They tried feeding me some ridiculous story that Matt was just visiting her because he happened to be working nearby. But I wasn't an idiot. Everything inside me screamed that they were lying. I was blindsided. My brain just refused to accept what I was seeing. Never in a million years would I have imagined Matt cheating on me, let alone with my baby sister. And just when I thought things couldn't possibly get worse, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Grace was pregnant, clearly. At least 4, maybe 5 months along. I was so horrified I actually threw up. Everything blurred after that. I barely remember the neighbors calling an ambulance or being taken to the ER. I was in complete shock, like I was drifting outside of my own body, watching this unfold from a distance. But the biggest gut punch hadn't even hit yet. At the hospital, after they ran some tests on me, the doctor came in with unexpected news. I was pregnant, 2 months along. After all the heartbreak, all the failed attempts, all the months of grief, of course I get pregnant the same day I find out my husband has been cheating on me with my teenage sister and that she's pregnant too. It was so cruel it almost felt like a joke. But it wasn't. My parents came to the hospital and nearly fainted when I told them what had happened. Then Matt and Grace showed up. Instead of apologizing or offering even the slightest bit of an explanation, Matt had the audacity to tell me that he didn't love me anymore. That he loved Grace and planned to marry her. I threw up again. Grace chimed in too, admitting they'd been together for over a year and that Matt had been planning to leave me. He just hadn't found the right time to break the news. Matt added that I'd been emotionally distant and couldn't meet his needs, and that's why he turned to Grace. Apparently, their connection started off as just friendship. But once he promised her he'd divorce me, she decided to take it further, decided to be with him and give him the one thing. Matt had always said he wanted to be a dad. That was one of the things I used to admire about him, how open he was about building a future together. That's why it completely floored me when everything came crashing down. He always acted supportive and loyal, like he had my back no matter what. Not once did he make me feel like something was wrong in our marriage. Even just days before I found out everything, I had driven him to the airport for one of his business trips. He kissed me, told me he loved me, and walked off like nothing was out of the ordinary. I had zero idea that he was planning to destroy our entire life behind my back. I didn't see it coming, not at all. My brain couldn't keep up with what was happening. There were too many emotions flooding in at once. But one thing was absolutely clear. I didn't want Matt or Grace anywhere near me ever again. I felt broken beyond anything I'd ever experienced. When I finally told Matt I was pregnant, he looked completely stunned. But even then, he didn't waver. He said he still wanted to be with Grace. That was the moment I realized how far gone he really was. The man had known Grace since she was 12. 12. That made the whole situation not just gross but disturbing on a level I couldn't fully wrap my head around. The doctor told me it was going to be a high-risk pregnancy, so I decided to move back in with my parents for a while. It was such a cruel twist. After everything I'd been through trying to get pregnant, I finally had a baby on the way, and I had never felt more miserable. A lot of our friends and extended family members were absolutely disgusted by what Matt and Grace had done. Many of them cut ties with both of them immediately. Instead, they shifted their attention to me and the baby, showering me with support and bringing gifts, baby clothes, toys, a stroller, even setting up a nursery. But Matt and Grace? Not a single apology. Not one call. Actually, the only time Matt reached out was to complain. He had the nerve to ask if I could buy baby things for their child, because apparently no one in the family wanted anything to do with them. He said it wasn't fair that my baby was being spoiled while theirs was being ignored. That everyone was punishing them unfairly. I was speechless. These people destroyed my life, and now they wanted help? From me? I hung up in disbelief and disgust. After that, Matt went completely silent. I tried to reach out a few times just to talk about the next steps and what we needed to do, but he ignored me every time. Later, my parents told me something that made my blood boil even more. Grace had been telling them she was seeing someone new, someone loving, supportive, someone who treated her like a queen. But every time they asked to meet this mystery man, she dodged. Turns out she was talking about Matt the entire time. He had wormed his way into her life and convinced her that I was the villain in all of this. He manipulated her at her most fragile, most broken state. And that's what hurt the most. More than the betrayal itself, it was the way he twisted her view of me. 2 weeks passed. I couldn't get anywhere with Matt, so I finally made the decision to get a lawyer and file for divorce. But just before I could follow through, I got an anonymous email. At first, I thought it was a scam or some kind of prank. But the subject line read, "You deserve the truth about Matt." Curious and honestly desperate, I replied. The next day, I got a follow-up email with a link to a shared folder. Inside were screenshots of texts, phone records, financial documents, and other files that completely blew my mind. According to whoever sent the email, Matt had lost his job over 2 years ago. He had taken out large loans from sketchy lenders and was now drowning in debt. He'd been dodging them, avoiding repayment, and planning an escape. Apparently, he had another girlfriend. In Thailand. He had been talking to her for months, promising to move there, marry her, and start a new life. The email included flight confirmations, visa documents, and even a copy of a fake work permit. He was scheduled to leave the country in less than a month. As I scrolled through his conversations, some with lenders, others with this girlfriend, I couldn't breathe. The evidence was all there. He had been begging for more time from loan sharks, sweet-talking the Thai girlfriend about their future together, all while playing house here with me and whispering lies to my sister. I was furious. I printed every document, screenshot, and bank transfer. I sealed them in an envelope and met with my parents and lawyers. After weeks of stalling, my lawyer finally managed to get Matt to agree to a meeting. And to my satisfaction, he brought Grace along with him. The second Matt laid eyes on me, he started spouting off nonsense, telling me again how I needed to move on and stop clinging to him. I didn't even react. I just handed him the envelope with all the evidence inside. He looked confused at first. But as he flipped through each page, the color drained from his face. That's when I turned to Grace and calmly explained everything. I told her about his secret life, the Thai girlfriend, the debt, the escape plan, everything. She stood there in stunned silence as I pulled up the receipts. Matt, as expected, tried to brush it off, claimed I was just trying to sabotage him because I was bitter and jealous. But my lawyers were ready. And the truth was undeniable. Then, like the cherry on top, I served him the divorce papers. Right then and there. He looked like he might faint. He kept trying to defend himself, grasping at any excuse he could come up with, but when even Grace started to doubt him, he switched gears. Suddenly, he was sorry. Suddenly, this was all a misunderstanding. Suddenly, he wanted to make things right. But the damage was done. My lawyers made it clear that Matt was now facing serious consequences. The visa paperwork he submitted for Thailand? It was fake, completely illegal. He wouldn't be going anywhere anytime soon. That small detail actually gave me a bit of peace. For once, he was the one stuck, not me. The divorce proceedings are starting soon, and everything is an absolute mess. Grace is devastated, she's realizing she was lied to, manipulated, and used. My parents don't know how to deal with either of us. It's just chaos from every angle. And maybe this makes me a terrible person, but I can't lie, I feel a little bit vindicated. After everything he put me through, I finally feel like I'm hitting back in the only way I can. Nothing is resolved yet. Everything's still messy and up in the air. And honestly, I'm not sure I handled it all perfectly. But I did what I had to do. Update 1. Hey everyone, it's been a little while, and wow, there's so much to unpack. First, I want to clear something up that a few people have brought up in the comments. Yes, technically Grace was an adult when she and Matt started their affair. But let's be real, Matt had known her since she was 12 years old. A literal child. He watched her grow up in our home, around our dinner table. She was like a daughter to him, or at the very least, a niece. So yeah, it may be legal, but that doesn't change the fact that what he did was predatory, manipulative, and downright disturbing. I raised that girl like she was my own. And the idea that Matt ever looked at her in that way makes my skin crawl. I only bring this up because I've noticed some guys in the comments defending Matt, claiming Grace was just as responsible. Let me be clear, I'm not excusing what Grace did. She made terrible choices, no doubt. But she's also been battling her own demons, mental health struggles, addiction, and years of instability. She was incredibly vulnerable, and Matt knew it. He also knew she'd had a crush on him for years. He could have cheated on me with anyone. But he chose Grace because she was easy to manipulate. He saw an opening, and he took full advantage of it. I'm not saying she's innocent, she's not. But Matt? Matt is a manipulative predator who exploited everyone who loved him. A lot of people have asked about the woman in Thailand. I won't say much for privacy reasons, but yes, she's real and she had no idea about any of us. Matt lied to her just like he lied to the rest of us. Told her he was single. Promised he was going to marry her. He even sent her money every month. Told her he was coming to Thailand to work and then bring her back to the US. Eventually. All lies. I haven't spoken to her directly, but my lawyers have. She knows the truth now. She knows everything. As for Grace, I haven't spoken to her either. The last time we talked, she screamed at me for ruining her life. She said that if I really loved her, I would have let the whole thing slide and left Matt alone. Can you believe that? I reminded her very calmly, I might add, that Matt never loved her. That he had every intention of abandoning her and their baby. But she didn't care. She still sees me as the villain in all this. What's insane is that I'm the one who should be furious, right? But there she was, blaming me. I can't win. I still love her, even after everything. But the person she's become, it hurts too much to even recognize her. And honestly, I think my life would be better off if she wasn't in it, at least not right now. I know that sounds cold. But I've been through enough. I need peace. Now, about Matt's fake work permit, because he hadn't actually used it yet or been caught with it, he technically didn't break any laws. So yeah, he got off the hook. Of course he did. In the divorce, his lawyers tried everything to make me look bad. They even had the nerve to demand a share of my business. But my lawyers shut that down fast. Thankfully, the company is in my name alone. Matt doesn't have any legal claim to it. What he does have, though, is a child to support. Once the baby is born, he'll be paying child support. We're still working out the amount, but I'll have full custody. Matt tried to act like he wanted to be involved, which backfired hilariously considering everyone knew he had been planning to ditch the country. That's all I know for now. The court hearing is coming up in a few days. I'll share more when I can. Update 2. Hey again, just wanted to post a quick update. I'm currently 4 months along, and yes, I'm still high risk due to gestational diabetes. But so far, the baby is doing really well. This isn't how I imagined going through pregnancy, but I'm deeply grateful to my parents. They've stood by me through all of it. Every time I see the ultrasound photos, I feel this growing excitement. I can't wait to meet my child. I know our little family won't look like I once hoped, but I'm going to give my baby everything I've got. Grace, from what I've heard, is around 7 months pregnant. That's really all I know. We haven't talked, and I don't plan to reach out anytime soon. I appreciate everyone who's been keeping me and my baby in your thoughts. Update 3. Hey everyone, sorry for disappearing for a while. This update's long overdue, but I finally have some good news. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She came a little early and had to spend some time in the NICU, but she's doing great now and has been discharged. I had to undergo an emergency C-section, and recovery has been rough, but I'm healing, and more importantly, she's healthy. The other big update? My divorce is finalized. It was messy, brutal, even. But I had a solid legal team, and they made sure every one of my demands was met. Matt tried his usual nonsense, claimed I got pregnant on purpose just to trap him for child support. But no one was buying it. I was granted full custody of our daughter. Matt and I don't speak. He's tried to reduce the child support amount, but the judge didn't go for it. He's also legally responsible for repaying the money he borrowed from those lenders. Honestly, I have no clue how he's going to manage it, and at this point, I don't care. Not my problem. Last I heard, he's desperately looking for a job. He still hasn't met his daughter. Didn't even bother showing up at the hospital when she was born. Honestly? I dodged a bullet. My daughter deserves better than a selfish, lying man like him. Grace gave birth to a couple of months before I did. She had a daughter as well. I haven't seen either of them. I don't plan to. The only communication between us comes through our parents. They keep trying to get us to talk again, to make peace. And part of me still aches for her. Deep down, she's still my baby sister, the one I used to carry around and read books to. But the betrayal runs deep, and I'm still not past it. What hurts most is knowing she knew me better than anyone. And she still chose him. I don't know what the future holds. I'm trying to rebuild my life, one step at a time. It's going to be a long road, but I owe it to my daughter to do better. To be stronger. So from here on out, my energy is going into two things: raising my child and growing my business. Before I go, I just want to leave you with this. Be careful who you love. Matt was the kind of guy who made grand declarations in public. He acted like I was his everything. He was charming, generous, devoted, at least on the surface. People thought we were perfect. Even I believed it. And then he cheated. Not just once, but repeatedly. Quietly. For years. No red flags. No signs. All I'm saying is, if something feels too perfect, it might not be real. Trust your instincts. Protect your peace. And always, always know your worth. Take care.